Hey, Lions Nation! We're back with another exclusive video bringing you all the latest news about our beloved Detroit Lions. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss anything about the team. Now, let's get into the news. No one could believe what they were reading. Even in an NFL era full of shockwaves, trades, betrayals, last-second twists, and stories that detonated across social media, this one hit with the force of an earthquake, tearing open the league from end to end. ESPN didn't just report it, they unleashed it like a controlled explosion. Trevon Diggs fecha, com o Detroit Lions e elevate defesa ao nível elite. The headline pulsed across phones, TVs, laptops, billboards, and stadium tickers. People froze mid-sentence. Entire watch parties fell silent. Rival fan bases screamed into the void. Defensive coordinators began swearing loudly in empty offices. Because this wasn't just a trade, it wasn't even just a steal. This was a declaration, a violent, unapologetic declaration that the Detroit Lions were done being the feel-good story. Done being the hopeful underdog. Done being the team with potential. They were stepping into a new identity, a darker one, a ruthless one, a version of Detroit built not to compete, but to dominate. And Trevon Diggs, he was the perfect symbol of that transformation. The ball hawk, the predator, the cornerback who treated interceptions like trophies and receivers like prey. A master of chaos disguised as elegance. A player whose instinct for the football bordered on supernatural. He didn't just read quarterbacks, he devoured them. And now he was bringing that energy, the swagger, the danger, the unpredictable brilliance straight into the heart of a Detroit defense, already frothing with aggression. The idea of Diggs wearing Honolulu blue didn't feel real. It felt like fantasy, like a glitch in the Matrix, like something the league shouldn't have allowed, but the league had no choice in the matter. Detroit forced their hand behind the scenes long before the public knew a single detail. Something had shifted, something subtle but seismic, in the weeks leading up to the trade. Staffers at Allen Park noticed a pattern: late-night meetings, closed-door film sessions, Campbell walking the halls with a look that people describe as hunter's focus. Whenever defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn talked privately with Campbell, whispers followed. Not words, whispers. And occasionally, someone walking past a meeting room heard fragments. We need disruption. We need a thief. We need someone who turns games into nightmares. They weren't looking for a cornerback. They were looking for a catalyst. Then, as if summoned by those whispers, Trevon Diggs appeared in the rumor cycle, not loudly, not publicly, slowly, like a shadow moving across a wall. First, it was a report about Dallas taking calls, then a strange quote from a Cowboys insider about philosophical differences. Then Diggs himself posted an emoji, a simple one. Ambiguous, harmless on the surface, but the kind of symbol that ignites conspiracy theories when posted by a superstar. Hours later, NFL reporters started connecting dots, lines, patterns, and each one pointed in a single direction. Detroit. When the truth broke, the world learned something stunning. Detroit had been studying Diggs for months, studying his footwork, his instincts, his tendencies, his mentality, studying the way he baited quarterbacks, the way he stalked routes like a lion cornering prey. They weren't just admiring him. They were building around the idea of him, planning a defense that fed off chaos, off aggression, off ball-hawking savagery. And when the opportunity arrived, when Dallas hesitated, when negotiations cracked, when the window opened even a sliver, Detroit didn't walk through it, they erupted through it. Executives later revealed that the Lions moved with unprecedented precision. Calls placed at exact minutes, proposals whispered, withdrawn, restructured, resubmitted. Time like coordinated strikes. They cornered the Cowboys into a decision, and when the trade was finalized, sources said Detroit's front office didn't cheer, they exhaled like soldiers who had executed a flawless mission. Word traveled instantly through the locker room. Players reacted with disbelief, then with adrenaline. A defender reportedly shouted, "We're taking everything this year." Another yelled, "Campbell just built a monster." Even offensive players felt the shift. Jared Goff was seen laughing, to himself, shaking his head in disbelief. Amon-Ra St. Brown texted a teammate, "They're not scoring on us." Good luck to the league. And outside the facility, Detroit went feral. Thousands of fans flooded into the streets around Ford Field. Flags waved, smoke flares ignited, chants echoed off buildings. People climbed lampposts, car roofs, even the stadium gates. News helicopters flew overhead, capturing scenes that looked more like a championship parade. Then a midweek off-season night, Detroit wasn't celebrating a trade. Detroit was celebrating the birth of a new identity, a defensive identity dripping with danger. Because with Trevon Diggs in Detroit, one truth became unavoidable. The Lions weren't just adding a defender, they were unleashing a weapon. A weapon that would redefine Sundays, a weapon that would turn every opposing quarterback into prey. A weapon that would drag Detroit's defense out of good and into untouchable. Before we move on, take a second to drop a like and subscribe. That way, you'll stay up to date with every exclusive Lions update. And you'll even have a chance to win an official Detroit Lions jersey. Let's keep going. But the true story, the one that would fuel documentaries, Reddit conspiracies, fan theories, and late-night podcasts, began far from the flashing cameras and ESPN panels. It started in a room deep under the Lions facility, one without windows, without logos, without any sign of life except for a conference table, a projector, and a whiteboard stained with the ghosts of past schemes. This was where Campbell planned his wars. This was where Detroit reinvented itself. On one unremarkable Tuesday morning, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn entered the room, carrying a tablet full of cut-up, isolated clips of Trevon Diggs doing impossible things. Breaking on a ball with inhuman speed, reading a quarterback's shoulders like a gambler reading tells, transforming busted plays into turnovers with the confidence of a thief who knows exactly when the guard will blink. Campbell sat in silence as the tape looped, over and over, play after play, like he was watching destiny unfold in slow motion. Then he said something that chilled the room. He doesn't cover, he hunts. That sentence became the thesis for everything that followed. Detroit's brass began running simulations, literal digital simulations of what the defense would look like with Diggs. How the safeties would shift, how the linebackers would roam, how the pass rush would attack. And with every scenario, every projection, every analytic curve, the same conclusion appeared. Trevon Diggs wouldn't just improve the defense, he would change its DNA. Meetings spiraled into midnight, whiteboards filled with chaotic arrows. Campbell scribbled phrases like takeaway culture and defense that devours. Someone circled a phrase near the top corner of the board, let them fear the throw. And then came the turning point. The moment Detroit stopped dreaming and started preparing. An unnamed Lions executive received a message late at night from a contact in Dallas, not detailed, not explicit, just enough to ignite a storm. You didn't hear this from me, but they're listening. At 2:41 a.m. Campbell was called. At 2:42 a.m. he was already walking into the facility wearing sweatpants and a hoodie. At 2:57 a.m. Detroit initiated the first contact. By sunrise, a dozen executives were awake, wired, and ready. Negotiations escalated quickly. At one point, Dallas reportedly tried to pull back. Sources say Campbell responded not with frustration, but with one icy sentence: we finish what we start. Within hours, the Cowboys broke. By late afternoon, the deal was real. Trevon Diggs was a Detroit Lion, and the world was about to change. Inside the locker room, the energy became volcanic. Players began texting each other highlight clips. Linemen joked about turnover parades. Rookie defenders walked with renewed swagger. Even the veteran captains looked different, lighter, sharper, hungrier, because they understood instantly what Diggs represented. Sundays would no longer be fair. Offenses wouldn't survive mistakes. Quarterbacks wouldn't survive hesitation. Receivers wouldn't survive arrogance. Detroit's defense didn't just get stronger, it became predatory. Aaron Glenn reportedly told his staff, we're not playing defense this year, we're stealing seasons. And outside the building, the fear spread even faster. An NFC North offensive assistant anonymously told a reporter, we're cooked, we're legitimately cooked. Another said, you don't game plan for Detroit anymore, you just pray. On social media, Detroit fans embraced a new mantra: you throw it, we take it. ESPN analysts spent hours arguing over whether Diggs' arrival officially turned Detroit into a contender, a powerhouse, a dynasty in the making, or something even more terrifying, an unstoppable hybrid of brutality and finesse. But the truth came not from analysts, nor fans, nor even executives. It came from Trevon Diggs himself during his first late-night walkthrough on the Ford Field turf. Alone, quiet, hoodie up, gloves on, he walked the empty field, tracing imaginary routes, feeling the space the way predators study territory. A reporter hiding in the tunnel swore they heard him whisper, they're not ready for what's coming, and he was right. Because with Diggs in Detroit, The NFL didn't just gain a storyline, it gained a problem, a massive, electrifying, season-warping problem. A problem that would turn quarterbacks hesitant, receivers desperate, and the Lions' defense into a roaring, unstoppable storm. A problem with a name, Trevon Diggs, Detroit Lion, Elite Unleashed. We bring you the latest Lions news every single day, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And of course, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's news. Your voice makes a difference for Lions Nation. See you in the next video.